Okay. So in 2006, I went to go and do my master's, and I did a master's in counseling psychology. And soon after that, I decided that I really was passionate about human rights work. I wanted to work with refugees or immigrants, and sort of, I think that was my way of giving back without being in my country, right? So even though I knew I was part of the brain drain, I still felt like it's all right. You're still doing something for people that are in need. So I then started working for a human rights organization, and I was working with undocumented minors, which was very interesting work. I have to say it's the most passionate I've been about work I've done, and I did that for about 2 years. And the stories that you hear of how people travel all the way from like China or India or Somalia or Mexico, Guatemala, to come to the US just for an opportunity at a better life, to provide for their families, or because they're being persecuted. It's just incredible. And so being able to give back to me has always been important. After that, I transitioned to more outreach work. And so I was continuing to work for the same organization, but a different branch. And so I was working with refugees and immigrants, and that was really interesting work, going out into communities. I was working with quite a few African or Iraqi, Middle Eastern families. And I'd go into their homes and I'd hear their stories and then try my best to support them. And then,
in what capacity?
As a mental health clinical practitioner, so as a therapist.
Okay.
But it's interesting because you have to put on so many different hats. So it's like 1 minute I am in therapist mode, and then the next minute I'm an English teacher, and the next minute I'm like doing transport, and the next minute I'm doing art. So I think having to do that kind of work, it like really pushed me to take on so many different roles at the same time. So finally I decided that I was going to come back, and I wanted to be in Africa. I wouldn't say I wanted necessarily to be in Ghana, if I'm really fair. So I thought, okay, come home, sort of regroup, and then you apply to other countries. And I remember when I first came and I was looking for work, I have to say, this is quite a hostile environment for therapists. It's not really a field where there's like an abundance of jobs. So initially people were saying, well, go teach at a school, you can be a professor or something. And I mean, I think there are very few master level professors, and I quite frankly have never been quite interested in doing that. So I don't think I put my full heart into it. And then it was, well, be a school counselor. And I was like, honestly, I would really hate that. It's like goes against every part of my being to do that, because I would just be boxed into working within the school's parameters. But I did apply, didn't work out. So obviously it wasn't where I was supposed to be. And then I remember coming here and my mum saying, you know what, go to this clinic, and it's a physiotherapy clinic. And she said, you need to just talk to the lady and see what you guys can figure out. And so I met Anna Houghton, and she started this clinic. She moved here from Canada herself, so she's also a returnee. She started this clinic. It's a physiotherapy clinic, and they do massage and some other stuff here. And she was like, hey, why don't you just rent an office here and just do your thing? And I was thinking, really? I mean, because in the US, I never had that opportunity, and I knew I would never have that opportunity because as a foreigner, you can't do private practice, right? Because you're on H-1B. So you're quite restricted. So I thought, oh gosh, well now actually I have the freedom to do private practice. So yeah, here we are.